He'd always wanted to be a soldier, ever since he was a little boy. His mom wanted him to be a preacher, if you can imagine. Well, it turns out, before his life had come to a close, he'd become very good at both. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain was a student at Bowdoin College, graduated with honors, went on to secure a Bachelor of Divinity degree from Bangor Seminary in Maine, then came back to his alma mater to teach there. He taught rhetoric and modern languages. He could write and speak in 7 of them. At the outbreak of the Civil War, his desires from childhood were rekindled to serve in the Army. And under the guise of taking a 2-year sabbatical from teaching, he enlisted in the Union Army. And interestingly, over a relatively short period of time, God thrust him into this place where I stand right now. Little Round Top on the battlefield at Gettysburg. Historians almost all agree that the entire battle here at Gettysburg hinged on Chamberlain's success to carry out his assignment. And consequently, the entire war would hinge on the outcome of Gettysburg. So it was an enormous responsibility he was given that day. He was to hold this, the very end of the Union line on the left, at all hazards. Those were the words of his superior, which simply meant there was to be no retreat. He took his position atop this treed, rock-strewn hill against Confederate troops from Alabama, who made their way forcefully up the hillside, time after time after time. And every single charge was repulsed by Chamberlain's 20th Maine. The Alabamians were growing exhausted, but more importantly, Chamberlain's 20th Maine were running out of ammunition. He knew he couldn't retreat, and he knew he couldn't hold this position very long, and so in a stroke of courageous genius, Chamberlain called the order down the lines, "Secure bayonets." It was the only option he had left. And with the order, he charged down the hill at the awestruck and surprised Confederate troops, who began to run and surrender to soldiers whose guns weren't even loaded. They had no more ammunition left. A remarkable story of courage and commitment and follow-through. It's been my observation as I've studied, at least to some degree, the Civil War and specific people like Chamberlain involved in it, that those who sought the glory rarely found it. It was those who simply allowed themselves to be used, who were put into positions of esteem and admiration. Chamberlain went on to be decorated with the Congressional Medal of Honor, the highest award our country can bestow on a soldier for his leadership here at Little Round Top. He would be promoted to the rank of Brigadier General before the war would be over with, and specifically selected by Grant to receive the surrender colors at Appomattox, an incredibly high honor. He didn't seek any of it. Chamberlain was no glory hound. He simply sought to be used. Now, there are some profound implications here for us as Christians. Those of us who seek to be glorified because of our commitment rarely will be. It's just a question of simply offering ourselves to be used. And it's those of us who are willing to do so who will probably be remembered the most.